Okay, Damien's not here tonight, so I've got him here. This is him hugging the famous donut lady. It's a beautiful picture. It's actually on one of our T-shirts. And now I'm going to bring in our guests. The beautiful Najma. I said that correctly?
Hi. Yes.
Najma, which means star.
Yes.
That's correct. And Sam Murray. Sam means mature age white guy from the suburbs. Is that what Sam means?
That's exactly what it means, Michael.
Look, welcome to the show in these really difficult times, especially this time of the year. And I'm going to get started. The reason I approached Naja today is she approached me saying that she's booked in to get the jab. And we're pro-choice here. So if you want to take it, take it. You don't want to take it, don't take it. But what got me, Najma, we had a great show with a Kurdish man, and you were adamant that you didn't want to take it. And now things
100%.
have changed. Yeah, and now things have changed. So can you say why that's happened?
To be honest with you, Michael, as I've already had a chat with you about it, it's just that I've been in a situation where obviously I'm a single mum and I have a little one. And obviously Centrelink doesn't cover all the expenses. And I'm in a situation where I'm just paying the bare minimum of life expenses. I'm not living and I can't do more than that. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go get the jab so then I can get work and I can financially be more stable and more able to afford, the livelihood for my son and myself.
So you're not going to get it for your health. You're going to get it just to survive.
Michael, as I already told you in the other episode that we had, that I've already had COVID and I haven't ever since. So I'm not really doing this because I'm really afraid for my health. No, I really need to work. And that's the only way I see that is fit to do that, to be able to do that, I guess.
Yeah. And so this is what we're talking about, that basically lots of people in Australia now are besieged. And we're besieged by government, big pharma, the mainstream media that is just pushing and pushing and pushing. Now they're trying to push the boosters. And now here you are. Do you think now, ironically, that if you get it, you might not be able to work because it's only one jabs, and then you've got to wait the weeks until you get the second jab, and then you're going to have to wait to get the next one, the booster?
To be honest with you, Michael, I'm more afraid of if anything happens to me before I even find a job, because I've had a few people that did get the jab that felt sick.
That's okay. That's your son?
After. Yeah, he's just playing around. But yeah, what is it called? I'm more afraid of if there's anything going to happen to me because
an adverse reaction.
Like not death, but even if I just feel sick or I can't really be able to look after my son the way I need to. I'm only here by myself, and he is a dependent. Like he's not one that can do a few things on his own. So he's really relying on me. So that's one of the.
How old is he?
1 year and 2 months.
1 year and 2 months.
1 year and 2 months.
I've seen pictures of him. He's as beautiful as you. He's a really beautiful. Hello.
Hi. Say hi. Oh.
Okay. So just for those coming in, Najma didn't want to take the vaccination for her own reasons. We're a pro-choice site, but we just saw her beautiful son, and she's taking it so that she can support her son, but she's doing it against her will. So that's breaking the Nuremberg Code, and it's breaking our own constitution. So basically besieged by our own government and going against her own choice of her body, her choice. Now it's her body, Dan's choice, or whatever the premier is. That's the actual fact, So they've basically coerced you into doing it, correct?
And they don't give me any other options. I guess if they do say, it's an option, like you've got a choice. You can either get it or you don't. But then in some sense, like you just feel like you're put in this corner that it's really, there is no choice. In order to live and to do the main proper things and there is no choice. Like you have to go get it in order to go eat at a restaurant, in order to work, in order to do some things that were supposed to be given. And that's our rights to do, What
work are you looking at, Najma? What work are you looking at?
To be honest with you, I really don't mind at this point. I don't really mind at this point. Like, I really did want to work from home because I want to be with my child. What is it called? I have a lot of experiences in different departments. I'm writing my own book and I write poetry. I always wanted to be a public speaker. And what is it called? I did sales. I worked with kids before, call centers and everything. So, yeah.
Okay, and if somebody offered you a job, say there are jobs going out, we hear that people are unjabbed, would you be interested in hearing from them if they approached us through the site?
Of course, 100%. And I think the reason why I was in contact with you, Michael, was I guess a part of me was trying to look for saving because I knew somehow deep in my heart that I'm not doing the right thing. Like I just felt really ugly deep inside. So if I can find an option to make that extra money without having to get jabbed, 100% correct, because I held out for this long for a reason. It's not that I didn't know or I didn't want or I could have. No, I did it because I feel like there is something wrong with this whole situation and it's not fair.
Yeah, I don't feel that you even have to justify the reason why you don't want to take it. You just don't want to take it. And you've been forced to take something you don't want to take. And so if there anyone is out there,
100%.
go through the comments and stuff. Hopefully there'll be comments coming through. Anyone is out there, and you're in Melbourne, right?
Yes, I am in Melbourne.
You're in Melbourne? Yeah, so in Melbourne, if there is anyone out there that could offer Najma a job, get in touch with us and see. I'm just going to move to Sam now. Najma, so if you have to look after your boy, feel free. Just keep us made that we're here. And now, Sam, can you tell us what's happened to you?
Well, I've been a teacher for 20 years. I came into teaching from an environmental background. My main focus was to educate about environmental awareness, caring for local ecology, things like that. And done a lot in teaching, been here, overseas, in mainstream, out of mainstream, ran my own course for a while, work with so many beautiful, amazing children and families. And when I heard news of all this stuff,
Sam, did you have a calling to teach? Was it a job you fell into, or was it really a calling you wanted
to fell into it, really. I was teaching kids to do bushland management at the back of this primary school one day, and the primary school was going for a gardening award, native gardening award, and they had this lovely native reserve behind their school, and they wanted there was a grant out there for that, and they wanted to enter the competition, and I offered my services to do a management plan for that, and I had all the kids working in different groups, different sections of the heathland, and I'm by Port Phillip Bay, so if you know anything about the Melbourne regional ecology, you'll know the sort of bushland we have, heathland around Port Phillip Bay. And the principal came up to me one day and she said, "You're so good with the kids. You've got everyone working like a well-oiled machine. Why don't you think of going to teaching?" And at that time, I was living down the coast, doing a lot of surfing. I still do a lot of surfing. And I'm still into my environmental awareness, and fell into it that way. Got into uni by interview. Did a 3.5 years of study at RMIT, and then was working.
And did you pay for that yourself?
Yes, and then and I'm one of those guys who just misses out when everything's free and then gets feed. Yeah. So the free uni.
I don't know how old you are. I was born in the 60s, and to be born in the 60s is like turning up at a great party. At the end of it, when everyone's in the kitchen going, "Man, you missed a great party." And so I know what you mean.
I rocked up when the dishes had to be cleaned.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The place has to be cleaned.
So the HECSET came a thing, and then of course the government, in their wisdom, decided that it would accrue interest and all that sort of stuff. So thank you. And then of course the government benefits changed and everything else, and so my 3-year course turned into a 3.5-year course because I had to work and blah blah blah, and couldn't do the course within the time limit. Ended up being invited back to Melbourne Uni, and probably didn't enjoy Melbourne Uni as much as I did RMIT. And some of the teachers who were going through the course, I was beginning to wonder, even at that stage, whether or not they'd be the right kind of people to have our lovely children in their hands. But anyway, I was a bit of an oddball. I got called into...
You're talking about all the woke stuff that a lot of the kids have been taught now, and
but also I didn't fit into the mold. I don't fit into the square well. I'm a round peg in a square hole. And anyway, I had an interview with one of the youth psychology team people, and one of those people who, they publish a lot of educational approaches and all that sort of stuff. And I was referred to them like, oh, what do we do with this guy? And about 15 minutes later, he shook my hand and said, we need more people like you in education. I'm not sure if you're going to go that well in mainstream schools.
Yeah.
But, I floated in and out of mainstream, alternative, private, my own thing. I love kids who get kicked out of school.
So can we move to what happened? So what happened in the end? You didn't want to I take it you didn't want to be...
In the end, well, one of the first things that happened when this first got announced is I just had a very strong gut feeling. It just said no.
Yeah.
This is not right. Something's not sitting right with me. My intuition's never led me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's without even
same, Najma, you're nodding your head. The same with you? Najma, you nodded your head to that. That's the same with you? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Proceed, Sam.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Sam.
Anyway, it's really lovely to be on this and meet Najma and through this forum anyway. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there watching this as well. But
and have you been totally dismissed now?
I was
nice to meet you too, Sam.
Have you totally totally been dismissed?
So what happened was a bit like good old
you still there, Sam? There's probably everybody on watching.
I was
the show.
forced out. I was told that I couldn't come on site unless I produced a certificate for the product, and I refused. I said, well, that's my private matter. Even other people, I was working in a government school at the time, a high school, and even other people, the superiors at the time said, yep, it's a private matter, but their hands were tied by the system that was in place. And I said, look, I don't know how long it is till I see you again, but I hope to see you again. And they said the same. This is how it is at the moment. We have to do it this way. And so I ifed and butted and tried everything I could. And in the end, they said, look, flat out, we're not going to have you on site. Did a few letters back and forth to the department and things like that. And we met with just the block standard responses. And a little bit like that fantastic other teacher you had on, Candy. She's probably everything that's happened up to now, so I can't add anything more to it than what's already been said.
Did you get that letter which said gross misconduct of duty or something?
All the repulsive letters, things like you'll be stood down. If you can take leave, blah blah blah. We're going to pay your holidays. And then, of course, about 8 or 9 days ago, we get the letter that said, no, we've decided you're not going to get your holiday pay.
Unless
and all
you
that
get
kind of
jabbed.
So,
no, can you go back for a sec? You don't get your holiday pay unless you get jabbed. So it's blackmail.
Yeah, and even if you do now, unless you there's some letter that's been published now online, you can find it, that said even if you do, if you fail to conform to the full requisite by January whatever, we're going to take any holiday pay that we might pay you, and now we're going to take legal action to get it back. So how that works out for an ongoing teacher who's been in the system for this long is anyone's guess, because
teachers who are unemployed, have been made unemployed because of their own integrity, deciding for themselves, now have been living on any holiday pay they have. Now they've had it removed. And if they do get any, they're going to take legal action to get it back. Yeah, and this is our government, Australians. These are Australians, like our brothers and sisters, our fathers and mothers, like even our kids, doing this against other Australians in the thing of protecting us from something which is basically can't 99.5% chance getting over without any medical attention whatsoever. Out ivermectin, without anything, you've got a 99.5% chance of getting over it. At the moment, everyone's getting sick with Omicron. It's like the national hobby for January is get sick. So
yeah, it's amazing.
I just want to read
yeah,
out
there's a
this
cool
from
report out there
sorry,
about-
Sam. I'm just going to read out this from Terry on Macquarie. So many people have lost their jobs, 40 years in healthcare and now unemployed. So that's 40 years. That's 40 years of someone with 40 years experience. You've got you, Sam, with all your experience, the investment that you've paid, but actually the experience. These are lost commodities for our culture. And no, how can you perceive that a government that actually cares for the people and cares for the culture could afford to lose? Like we had the firefighters the other night, we've had teachers, we've had nurses, we've had doctors, and there are only some. We've also had, there'll be bus drivers, tram drivers, across the board, every job, all of them gone, all of them now on welfare or basically besieged until they give in to the government with these mandates. Basically, we are besieged. Can you conceive that that's Australia? It's amazing. It's not really a question, is it? More of a statement.
Who wants to answer that one?
It just staggers me. It's just like trying to see the wood for the trees. You know what I mean? When you hear it.
It's a bit of a dead end road. They really want to try and argue because first of all, they're saying, well, if you take this, then you're not a health risk to everyone else around you. The first argument you could say to that was, then what's the point of everyone else taking it? And secondly, the so-called effectiveness from the product seems to be changing by the week. Now they're trolling out all these boosters that you've got to have. And
the other interesting thing, the other interesting thing is the reason they told us to take it is we don't want the hospital to be overrun, and yet a good the stats today is at least half or more than half of the people who are in hospital are the vaccinated, and that came out. And also, the
people are in for other reasons, and they're getting diagnosed while they're in there for something else, and it's getting as a COVID stat. Which there's all sorts of questionable practices around that going on as well. Which if you can dig into, you can find all sorts of. So I mean, the argument doesn't hold any water as far as I'm concerned. And the more they push, the more it just makes people just go, you know what, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Najma.
So
there's now. I'll just go back to Najma. Najma, you were a model, correct? When she falls.
Yes.
Yeah. So so that was your life, and I believe, if I remember rightly, you're Egyptian. But is it Sudanese Egyptian? But you've never been to Sudan, but you're Egyptian and then here.
No, I'm Somalian, but I was born in Egypt.
Somalian, sorry. Yeah. But you were saying last time you were on that there was
Somali, but was born in Egypt.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you were saying last time that you found Egypt almost.
I don't know. It keeps cutting out.
Is it breaking up a lot? Yeah. Okay. We'll just have to work on Najma. There's
Michael?
Yes.
Yeah. Really.
Maybe you should go
I can
out
hear you better now.
and come back in. Okay. But so you're Somalian, but you're born in Egypt. But last time you were on, you were saying that Egypt had more freedom than Australia in the current time we were in. Do you still feel the same way?
100%. Like I feel like we came to Australia to have a freedom of rights and freedom of speech and freedom of living. And I just feel like that's all been taken away. I don't see the difference between the third world country that we came from to here now. Like that's what happens back home, Yeah.
We have people on here, like
Michael,
lots of people. Can you hear me now? Do you hear me, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe Najma, maybe you should log out.
Sorry.
And then log back in. You might get a better connection. I'll just kick you out and then try and log back in. You might get a better connection, Najma. Hold on. That's a real shame. But back to this, Sam. how do you think we're going to do this moving forward? Because right at the moment, we've been approached by lots of people who are really thinking, how are we going to get through to Christmas? They were hoping that, like New South Wales, the mandates and everything would sort of stop. And it's clear that they're not. They're mad to get the boosters into us, and now they're moving the booster to every 3 months after that, which is extraordinary. And I guess it'll be 3 months concurrently. So what do you see as the future coming our way?
I think as long as people are prepared to sort of operate in that system, that's what they're going to keep getting. You know, they've got a whole lot more planned down the pipeline. This is all in lockstep. You know, as long as you're trying to go back to a world that was, this is what you're going to keep getting.
You think the world that was gone?
Yep, for sure.
Oh, you do?
Yep. No, there's no way that you could pull off something like this and expect it to go back to normal.
Yeah.
No way. You know, people have just got to start thinking outside the system now, I think. You know,
you talk counterculture?
Well, you know, people have got to start making their own communities. It's pretty clear that the government aren't going to be there and be reliable or be, you know, acting upon any sort of reasonable, you know, the values that they're showing. I mean, I can't be part of that. I can't set an example like that to my own family, let alone anyone else, and call myself a teacher, because I'm not teaching by example. And
yeah, can I bring that in just on that point? Najma, can you hear me now? Is that a better connection? Is that a better connection, Najma?
Yeah. A little bit better, Michael.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all that as you move forward, you're going to have to... Are you concerned at all that as you move forward, you're literally going to have to teach your son that when it comes to the government bullying you, the only option you have is to give in?
Yeah, and that's what I've been really struggling with, and that's what I've been thinking about, Michael, to be honest with you, because I do want to teach him and truthfulness.
Yeah.
Be able to stay for his rights if I show that an example, because I am the person that's going to teach him a few things. Then he's never going to know the real meaning of, you know, having rights if I don't stand up for mine right now.
Yeah. But you're in this position too that you need to live, and the government's taking away that right almost. You know, they're making the right to live in your own choices a privilege. If you're wealthy, you can do it, and if you're poor, well, comply.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just so sad because, Michael, you need to understand that I had little one and I was pregnant. Like, I got married just before all of it came through, you know, like April last year, where it was just beginning.
That's better. Stay there.
I honestly did not have the best experience in pregnancy because
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Najma, your connection is bad,
Hello?
but we'll keep trying. There's if you can get... Try now. Maybe try switch your camera off and just go to audio, see if that makes it better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that. Okay. How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. See how that goes.
Hello?
So say what you were saying, Najma.
Yeah, Michael, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I was just telling you that I didn't have the best experience in being pregnant because I had nobody that was able to come with me to all my appointments and all of that, and a lot of shops were closed. I didn't really shop the way I wanted to. I never envisioned my pregnancy to go like that. And then when I was giving birth, nobody can come to the hospital. This was my first experience. So I've been through a lot in this year and a half, and for it to even end up like this, where, you know, I have to make a very difficult decision. And sometimes I feel like, am I being selfish? Like, am I actually being selfish in saying, no, I'm not going to get it? And then me and little ones struggle. Like, sometimes I blame myself. Like, why am I being hard? Why can't I just go and do it? Why am I
Yeah.
standing up for something that clearly won't go away, and we eventually all have to get it? That's the thoughts in my mind.
Yeah. Have you got any support network around you at all? How about in your community? What's your community's view of everything that's going on?
To be honest with you, I don't really connect so much with my community, like as in my community, like with Somali community. I live very far away from friends and my family as well, so it's just a bit difficult.
Yeah. So you spend a lot of time on your own then?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I spend a lot of time on my own with little man, and yeah, it's just that also even mentally and emotionally, like I got so trapped in the lockdowns that it took me a very long time to comprehend that, hey, I can go to the park, hey, I can go to the shops, hey, I can do a
Yeah.
few things. Like I kind of felt like we've been in home for so long that you
Yeah.
lose the idea of even being out and about.
Yeah. 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 I do.
And
I do know.
socializing and doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's staggering. There's yeah. All right, you're doing
Yeah.
this show, and because you're actually in it too, and because you're meeting real people, it actually takes you a moment to take this in. You're supposed to be this detached sort of interviewer, but you can't get detached because you get angry, you get fuming. And Damien and I do a lot of the protests
Yeah.
and meet a lot of people who literally cry with us. And we're talking men, women, all sorts of people, just like they're panting it up and they can't keep it in. And this is the regime we're moving under. What do you think a lot of people are
Yeah.
saying we're moving, and we say it a lot, that we're moving into a sort of totalitarian regime. You think that, Sam? You think that's where we're heading, or you think it's just government's going crazy with fear?
I was talking to a friend of mine earlier tonight, and he's saying something like, and I agree. Now they've got their ideas, but we've got ours. So,
But do you think the government though has sort of heading that direction, or do you think they just literally for some reason are mad about vaccines? They just
no,
want to.
I think it's part of a large thing going on. Vaccines is just the start of it.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's not.
you have
I feel like this has
It's not going to
already
get.
been put in place.
Not going to get any better. It's not going to, like, as soon as you do one thing, the goalposts will change, and you'll have to do another, and then you'll have to do another, and then maybe the bank system's involved, or maybe your food, or maybe your utilities, or maybe where you can go, or maybe, if you need to go to hospital to have a procedure.
Sam, would you be open to any work if anyone contacted us offering you any work?
Absolutely.
And can you tell me what work you could do? I mean, and we'll get to the counterculture stuff in a sec, but just for now, what sort of work you can do?
Yeah, so I can do tutoring. I can teach surfing, teach music, teach fishing, teach cooking, teach catch up for kids that have missed so much school. I'm probably more of an unschooling, I guess, kind of train of thought, to use a latest term that I've been seeing around.
And can I ask where you are, Sam? What sort of location? Not to give you address.
Yeah, I'm in the Bayside area of Melbourne, on the southeast suburbs.
Yeah.
And I was actually word out there for smoke if people want to contact me, because I could really use it at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and also the teachers that are around me as well. They're also in a similar position, and I'm even talking to some of them today.
Yeah.
They're
And how are
also
they?
looking
How are
for
they?
to make connections.
How are they going?
Yeah, it depends on everyone's circumstances. Some people know people who are already thinking similar. Other people are maybe they're not confident to put it out there. They may be scared of repercussions, or maybe they might be isolated. Obviously, people's emotions come into it such a big way. And some people have, you know, young families, they're really busy, or but yeah, the people I know around me are really looking to connect with other families around town. I guess probably more hopefully through word of mouth or contacts like this, rather than going through like one of the other forums where, you know, you might get some feedback that perhaps you're not after.
Yeah, because we need desperate. Najma, have you ever thought of doing hairdressing?
Yes.
Because the only reason I did is I did meet one
Not
woman. I met one woman who cut my hair, and she did a great job, and she
Yes.
learned it very quickly. And she's unjabbed, and she does it from home, and she's swamped with people wanting their haircut.
Oh,
And
nice.
it took her like 7 months to learn.
I wouldn't
It was the
mind
7
learning.
months.
I'm a fast learner as well.
Well, I think if you're hungry, you're an even faster learner.
Yeah, I don't mind,
You
Michael.
can practice on Sam here. He's a good
Yes,
model
I would
star.
definitely learn.
Make me look like
Sure.
Sam.
Well, that's it. We're not allowed to have a haircut. So anyone,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
not
But
much hair.
Najma, can you just tell me
You know what
before
I
we
was
move
thinking,
on?
Michael?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking, like, I actually don't mind, like, helping people go through things. I'm like the type of person, I feel like I can connect with people. And if anybody just wants to have a chat, like, to just get out of whatever.
I
I've
like
been
a
through a lot.
counselor, you
I'm
mean?
wise and experienced. Yeah, some kind
Yeah.
of therapist, you know, where people just, you know, open and just talk and let out of their chest. I feel like there's a lot of people hurting, you know, and they feel like they're alone. And I don't think that's right for anybody to feel like they're alone in it. Like in
Yeah.
anything, if they're going through anything, it's not just about COVID, you know?
Yeah. And do you have a car? Are you able to get around?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you got a car, you're able to get around, you're able to work, you prefer to work from home. Sam, you're
Yes.
basically, and Sam here, basically you're able to teach numerous things if anyone wants tutoring on numerous things. And I think at the moment, with our kids locked down the way they are, and I know my kids, I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
talk about my kids, but most of the kids are basically leaving school because it's just too difficult, or they've just, you know, so there's loads of kids that should need tutoring. So let's move to that.
100%.
Let's move to what we can do. Now, Damien and I were talking about this today, and if we had our way, we'd call on people to go, you know what? As soon as the holiday finishes, if you can have any sickies, take the sickies. Let's shut the country down with sickies to say enough's enough. You know, not actual strike, you just stay home sick.
Yeah.
Whether people do it, I don't know. But Sam, I'm starting with Sam. What things do you think we could do? Because I'm not into doing violence, but what things do you think we could do as a community to allow the government to know we've had enough? Let's go another way. Or do you think there's nothing we can do?
Well, there's always something you can do.
Cool.
There's lots you can do. Getting out there into the local community and making strong community bonds is the first thing you need to do. And some people might be shy, some people might be hesitant, some people, you know, I've met people in the city who they just couldn't believe that they met someone else of a similar way, you know, and they've been totally isolated. You know, it's really can really get your confidence down. People are confused, people are scared. But when they meet people who think similarly, all of a sudden, oh, there's someone else that thinks like that, and they know other people. You know, there's a
Have
lot
you
of
been to the marches, Sam?
Pardon?
Have you been to the marches?
Yeah, I've been to a couple. Haven't been to all of them. I've been to some.
That can feel like that. Don't you think?
Ones that were portrayed in a certain way in the media, but
Have you felt that there, though, the social bonding when you get to the marches, but suddenly you're surrounded by people who think the same?
yeah, absolutely. But often people are in a state of mind in those marches, and sometimes you can't really sort of sit down and have a quiet and chat and nut stuff out. You can get a few phone numbers and things like that, but really one of the best connecting things I did recently was go to one of the teachers' protests at the Treasury Place. And I met some amazing people there who are, you know, well down the line of thinking for themselves and getting themselves set up to even what I'm beginning to think. And it was a real confidence booster.
That was Candy's protest when she organised.
Well, yeah, I didn't get to talk to her on the day because she was too busy starting saying stuff around the megaphone. But I've met some other people who were teachers, for many years, and have just said, no, I'm not going to be part of this. These are values I can't participate in. How can even other teachers be going to work off the back of that is amazing. They can't even believe other teachers would be able to prepare to put. I mean, I suppose everyone's in a different situation. Maybe they've got, huge debt, or maybe the values are different, I guess. But
well, it's interesting, because when you're saying that about huge debt, correct, and the same goes for you, Najma. You're talking about huge debt, but this is the first time in my Australian history, where we've come to learn the price of your soul. And complying absolutely against your will, you absolutely don't want anything, comes at a debt to your soul. And I know this because that hairdresser I talked about told me that she cuts the hair of a lot of tradies and stuff like that. And they come to her house and she'll be cutting it and they'll lower their head down and then she'll look down to try lift their head. And when they lift their head, they're crying because they're basically in a place of safety. No one or their peer or no one their things, because they've been living the lie that they're all happy with it. They get them alone and they break. This is young men. Young men have had either adverse reactions or frightened that they get adverse reactions, or simply they just didn't want to do it. And they've been forced.
Yeah.
And this is what we're living in now. And this is what we're talking about, besieged people.
Yes.
Sorry, Najma.
To be honest with you, if you would ask me what we can do, I think the main important thing that we can probably do is to stop this whole nonsense of anybody going and getting this thing anymore. So whether it's a booster, whether it's the first or second or third, whatever, stop it. Do you know what I mean? Everybody to stop. Because I feel like the more people that go and entertain this, the more they feel like they've already got the numbers. You get me?
Well, don't you think, Najma, you're getting the jab because you've been isolated. You're by yourself. You can't survive this. This is what Sam said, which I think is really important, where he talked about community. And I think this is how it is now. It's community. Like I have the step family that I'm a
coming
part of.
Together.
Yeah, they're a group of people that met on the parliamentary steps. They call themselves the Step family, and I adore them. And we're working together now on ideas of how we can keep up the struggle and bring in an income for us, even just a subsistence income. These are things to do.
Yeah.
Do you, Sam, are you building a community in your area, or are you?
Absolutely, for sure. I'm putting it out there, even regardless of your financial situation. I don't set a fee or anything like that. So just to put a bit of a context to it, we still need to live. We still need to pay our bills. We still need to feed our kids. So we need some sort of money coming in or something of equivalent value. But what I'm thinking to try and set up is you just pay what you can. So depending on your situation, there's no judgment. If you don't have money, you can pay with a service. You can come and cook kids' lunch. You can come and do gardening. You can come and do stuff around the house. Join in like a small homeschool group and teach the kids a skill or something like that. And if you think of the kind of money that a household will be putting out over, say, 12 months, any home maintenance or food shopping, or some people grow stuff in their garden, or maybe they've got chooks or whatever.
Yeah, marijuana, grow marijuana. Grow it, grow it in your wardrobe. Grow it somewhere.
Got my hemp cap, but like any way that people can contribute is welcome. And I think that some people have been setting up like advertising themselves as I've left the school system, I'm setting up a homeschool thing, I'm going to make it like a classroom. Maybe that works for them. And power to them, that's great. And I hope there's some amazing people doing it. There's some other people who are looking at the system and going, well, that doesn't quite work for me, I'm starting up a new system. And people look out
what
for
about
themselves.
homeschooling? Sam, what about homeschooling? Because we've got some people approached us. They're trying to set up a system of homeschooling somewhere. I met another woman in Bendigo. I won't say where, but she's found a place where she has mothers who are unjabbed coming together, and she wasn't sure in Bendigo how many she got. She got about 50. It was growing to 100 the last time I heard. And they're meeting secretly, but they secretly get together and all their kids run free. So there is what they're doing, and let's not bullshit. What they're doing is dividing us.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like, the more rather than sort of spending energy getting angry about it or going through the grief, maybe treat it as an opportunity. But it depends on your mindset. Not everyone's at that stage yet. I've already gone through the I can't believe and oh my God, and now I'm at the okay, well, it is what it is. What can I do?
That's a great point. Can I hold you there?
I don't even have to go in the system. I can be completely out of the system. I don't take my phone out
just before you go on. Sorry, Sam. Just before you go on, just hold that thought, because I'd like to bring Najma in there. Najma, have you ever heard of a thing called the 7 stages of grief?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 7 stages to grief. Yes.
I think a lot of us are going through that grief now. Even the people with the mask. I went in Officeworks the other day, and to be honest, sometimes I think I go in defiantly. No, I'm not wearing it. Other times I think, I can't be bothered to fight today, and I grab on from the car and I just wear it to quickly buy my stuff. But I had to go to Officeworks and I couldn't find one. I thought, screw it. I was the only one in this crowded Officeworks without one. And I found so many people looking at me, but they weren't looking at me angrily. They were just looking at me sadly, just standing there like that, looking at me. And I wasn't defiant. I waited for someone to come up, but no one did. In fact, the guy that helped me was lovely. And I was just thinking, I wonder how many of us are going through these stages of grief and whether counselors could help. Because I think I've reached the point personally myself of acceptance and accepting the fact that the government and the mainstream media are now the enemy of a lot of the people. If you're for what they're doing, they're not. But if you're against the narrative, we got an enemy of the people. They don't care. And what it is a complete lack of empathy. Damien calls it a war on love. And that one way to fight is what Sam just said, where you don't join them. You don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with empathy, kindness, and you hold on to these things. But where do you think you are in those 7 stages, Najma?
To be honest with you, me, like, even booking the appointment, I think I got to a point where I kind of gave up in grieving and holding on and like trying to fight to try to, stand up for something. I just got to a point where I had to think, like, what is more important, me fighting or me living? And that's the stage that I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put out the call again because people are coming in and out. Can you just put your camera on just for a sec, Najma? We've got Sam here. Sam is a qualified teacher. He's open now looking for work. And Najma here is a young mother in Melbourne. Both Sam's in the Bay Area. You're in the Footscray area, somewhere around there, or Sunshine. Where are you, Najma? Don't tell me exactly. Just tell me the basic area. Okay, so you're the Werribee area. Okay, and you're looking for work too. You don't want to get vaccinated, but basically you've held off, but they're starving you. We're being besieged, and they're starving you into submission, and you don't want to do it. So if anyone in that area, she can drive. Anyone has any work, especially work she can do from home because she's got a 1-year-old boy, it'd be a blessing. So if you want to fight the tyranny we're under, one way to do it is to have the courage to have empathy and find it. So if you're a business person, you have a business, and there's a lot of businesses now hiring unvaccinated persons, because I know one of the guys I got arrested on the Shrine with, he's working now full time. The boss doesn't care. I've heard nursing home workers are going back to work because they're desperate. I've heard cardiac nurses are going back. Well, why would cardiac nurses suddenly be in demand? And so there's other things like that. So there are things coming, and but people need services, Sam. Like even yourself, you're at home, but you need surfaces. Have you ever thought of doing other things like making surfboards? Can you want to plug your surfboard thing now with your t-shirt?
Sure. There's
To keep your shirt.
these guys they're not in Victoria, but McCoy. They've been around for a while. If you're into your surfing, you probably
What's
know
their
who
name?
they
I
are,
can't
but,
see the badge. What's their
they're a
name?
pretty good company.
We can't see the badge.
McCoy.
What's their name? McCoy.
McCoy surfboards, and it says "Designs to free your mind," which was made well before this situation, but still applies. And you know, their whole philosophy is thinking outside the square.
I mean, the summer now, teaching surfing, surely you wouldn't need the jab to teach surfing, because how are you going to give someone COVID if you're in the water? Maybe give it to a shark.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I'm really into outdoor activities-based sort of stuff anyway. I even took my kids to a skate park, and you know, there was a young mum there who'd rung up a guy to come and teach a little boy skating. You know, so doing these kind of jobs, I can teach surfing. I've got the equipment. I've got the wetsuits, kids' wetties, everything like that. Know all the conditions. But you know, look, I might be lucky that way, but not everyone's in that, or has arrived to that kind of perhaps thinking yet. And I hope that at least, you know, over the next couple of weeks that people can maybe hopefully have the luxury to have a bit of a think about what their skills are, and maybe talk with their friends or someone they know and just run it by and say, look, I'm good at this and that. What are you good at?
Is that it?
How can
Sorry,
we
Sam, is that it? McCoy surfboards?
Yeah, that's them.
Okay. That's McCoy surfboards.
I don't know about
Look
that.
Yeah.
It's MCCOY.
MCCOY. Okay.
Yeah. But they're you know, like, I'm not trying to spruik the company. I mean, I don't know them that well, but from the chats I've had to them, they've been of a very similar philosophy. And there's a lot of other professional athletes out there that think the same. You know, Kelly Slater is one of the world's greatest champions, 11 times world champion surfing, and he said, they said, oh, would you come to the Rip Curl Pro in Victoria, and you might need to take this and that. And he said, well, no doctor tells me what is right for my body. I do. And then you got the Novak Djokovic situation coming up, which is fascinating. You know, the government's backpedaling on all the different. They're on the front foot in one area, and now they're trying to sort of scramble to try and make all these kind of excuses to get Novak in. And I hope Novak comes on stage.
Sam, let's be honest. They're not making excuses. They're acting like lords and kings, and they don't need to care.
Well, I reckon they're acting like the sport kindergarten kid, really.
Yeah, but you're a surf.
Be called the conformity crash.
Yeah.
You know, it.
What do you think would happen, or how do you think we could convince? Because something happened in Toowoomba, which we're trying to reach these people. There was a cafe in Toowoomba where the guy couldn't be bothered to check passports, couldn't be bothered to QR code, and did not want to check his customers. He said he's too busy making coffee to check on and police his customers, and he didn't want to police his staff. And he was so busy that he was like 3 times busier than all the cafes around him. Then the COVID Stasi turned up, and they said they were going to fine him. He said, fine me, I'm not going to keep doing it. Then they came back the next day with the police, and over 1,000 Toowoombians linked arms around the cafe. You can find it online, like 3 deep.
That's
3
awesome.
deep around this cafe. It's an amazing picture, and they would not let. I'll see if I can find it. They would not let the police in, and the police actually backed off. They left. Good. Now that's one cafe in Toowoomba. Yeah. So imagine if all the businesses at once said, "Screw you, we're opening. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to police my customers. I'm not going to police anyone. We're just going to open for business, do this, let people go." And I wonder what the government would do if literally they had mass non-compliance from the bosses. Well, and the other thing too, just to finish, surely if I had a business, the people who have the integrity to hold on to their their integrity and leave, surely you think they would be great employees. You're losing great employees. Employees who are that strong-willed, surely that's someone you'd want on working for you.
For sure. How was the firefighters the other night? And I mean, talk about integrity.
Firefighters getting rid of fire. We're sitting on we could have another firestorm like we had a few years ago, and we're getting rid of firefighters. And saying that now, that's just a case now, just to have it out. If you're living in Australia where we've just had that massive firestorm that the whole world was watching, and if our reaction is to get rid of firefighters because we want them to take the vaccination, then all that says to me, from my perspective, as just anyone, is that the government does not care for the country. It does not care for the firefighters. It does not care for the country. You're getting rid of nurses and doctors in a pandemic, then you do not care for the patients. You do not care for the doctors. You don't care for the country. So whatever's motivating you isn't the people, isn't the country. You've been motivated for other reasons. That clearly states that if you get rid of those particular jobs, you get rid of teachers so the kids can't be taught as well. You're getting teachers with integrity, and then you don't care for the kids. So that's what I'm saying at the moment. It's like coming to that acceptance that for some reason, the motivations for the government are just to get this stuff in our veins, and they do not care for us. And this is why, as we move forward now, us and some of the other indies are talking about besieged. And you, Najma, are a perfect example. Here's someone who's beautiful, talented, willing to work, and you can't get a job unless you break, unless you give in, unless you submit. And this is in an era where we have Brodie's Law, where basically you're not allowed to bully. We've grown up with my body, my choice, and we're just disregarding those. We're disregarding our constitution. We're disregarding everything. It's bastardry. It's bastardry. It's absolute an attack. There is a war. We're calling it a war on love. There is a war against us, and it's by our own people and our own mainstream media. And I think we have to realize that if we give in to that, they're not going to stop. So at some point, even though it's really difficult, you might have to consider coming together with people like us, people like Sam, uniting with people to hold the line. Because do you really want, because if you go that way, it's not going to stop. Do you really want the future they're offering? And I think now we're not fighting to get back to where we wanted, where we used to be. We're fighting to get to somewhere where we want to be, somewhere where we should be, somewhere where we've got, you're allowed freedom, you're allowed to love, you're allowed to work, you're allowed to make your own choices, you're allowed to give up your kids and teach your kids. Do not give in to bullies. Do not ever do it. Hold your ground. And not, if the government tells you to do something, you just bend over. That's communism. That's working under a despot. That's not democracy. That's not a free country. That's not why people travel. Sorry, Damien's not here, so I get to rant. That's not traveling from. People don't risk their lives on boats over choppy seas to reach here to be basically put into a prison. They don't do that. They come here for freedom. That's how important and valuable freedom is. And Australians need to wake up and realize that's what we're fighting for. And what they did with the war on love this year was attack Christmas. They attacked Christmas, and people gave in. They segregated families. And it's not a fear of the virus. It's a fear of going against the government. That's what they're frightened of. And so out of a fear of the government, they cast aside loved ones. So the new Paul Hogan quote for the Australia should be, throw another shrimp on the barbie and your brother under a bus. That's it. That's where we're living now, and what we're fighting for by holding on. I know it's really hard for both of you, but what we're fighting for is everything that is good about us and everything that we want to leave to our children. And we don't want to leave our children the fact that we gave in. We have to fight. I can see it on your face, Sam, how hard 100%. It is. I really feel it for you, man. I can see it.
Look, mate, I think you've summed up how a lot of people feel. I think we've got to be really careful about the fear mentality, and then manifesting a future with, based on that, because that's the future you'll get.
How could you go surfing if you were frightened?
Well, that's it.
You'd be frightened of drowning, frightened of sharks. you just would never see.
Yeah, you know, like I'm trying to aim for a future where, and I think a lot of people should be, well, hopefully, can aim for a future that's more positive and create the future that they want. Because the more people do that, then the better turnout you're going to get. I mean, this is it's bigger than coronavirus. It's bigger than the government attempts at controlling or trying to railroad in everyone into like their version of what the future should be. That's why I said at the start, you know, we've got our ideas too, and they're different, and we don't have to submit or conform to what's presented on us on like, you know, a box of dog shit.
But we do have to organise.
Yeah, there's no way. That's not a big deal now. And every time you conform to that, you know, it is, and there can be an amazing future that because there's a spiritual side to this too, which you sort of touched on with the war kind of thing. But you know, there's been wars in the past, and there's been deaths, and there's been all sorts of stuff. You know, let's not cover it up, but
they always come back to freedom.
At this point, surely it's real enough for people. Surely it's you know, it's hitting home to the point where people have to go, hang on a minute. I thought this was 2 weeks to flatten the curve and all these other slogans that were trolleyed out. And now none of that is happening, and it's all changing. And if you haven't woken up by now to what's happening, then God help you, because you're gonna wake up in a world of hurt. You never did anything about it when you could have, or you were too scared, or you couldn't see a way forward. And you know, I can't go to my gravestone knowing that I didn't stand up for what I believe in, and try to help those around me. And also, I want to create a much better future. Our own communities, maybe our own finance system, you know, our own medical system.
Absolutely.
There's countries around the world that
we have
way
to have
more advanced than what we are.
Yeah,
it's more. That's probably
Najma,
another show. But you know,
I'm going to wrap it up now, because Najma, and I just want to say, if you want, both of you send a picture for me, and I'm going to, because we've got a big growing group of people now, and just put what you're looking for. Let's see if we can get you some work. Najma, you send me a picture, and tomorrow I'll get it up there with what you're doing, just your local location, and let's see if we can find you some work. Let's see if the community can work together and push it. And the same for you, Sam. Just get a picture to me, and tomorrow I'll get it up, and let's see how we go, because we're not a news show. I'll
send it to you tomorrow afternoon. I'm probably fishing and surfing in the morning.
Yeah, no worries. Catch some fish. Bring me a fish. That's the price. I want a snapper. But Najma, I'm very serious. You get me some things, get me some pictures. I've got some anyway, but get me this, and we'll put it up, and let's see if we can, before you have to give in, let's see if we can get you some work. So if there's anyone out there, an employee who doesn't like the way the country's going, who wants to fight back, think about how, see if we can get these people some work. Okay? I'm going to go now. I'm going to play the video we had on. Good luck to you both. I really wish I could do something more. I really wish I could do something more than offer you a platform.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having us. Everyone.
Yeah, I did see, though, this is really important. I saw an African woman, a South African woman, and she was a playwright, a black playwright, and she, this was just after apartheid, and she was sharing pain, individual people's pain. And the person said, why are you doing that? Why aren't you just talking about it like a group? And she said, by sharing pain, that's the road to healing. And at the moment, they're dividing us, and we have to heal that divide. And the way we heal the divide is we heal it with all the things that we love and want, because they don't have them. They're selling us nothing that we want. Even the people that have gone over eventually are going to go, I don't want this, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath. Nothing that our souls want. So good luck to us all. Really do. It's going to be a hard year, but it might be a year that defines us all. Okay? Sam,
you're right.
I'd give you a hug if I could. And Najma, I'd give you a hug regardless. I probably couldn't reach you. I need a stool. I'm only short.
Good things in small packages. Thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Take care. See ya, and have a happy new year. And I'll be in Najma, I'll be in touch tomorrow. Get me those pictures tomorrow. We'll start a campaign.
No worries.
See ya.
We will. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
Bye.
No problem. The war of love has begun, people, and it's against us. We have to fight now. People are losing their jobs. People have no thing to give in. You can't stand there and just allow the Australians to give in. We have to rise up. Come to fight. And we fight. We rise up with our arms, hug. No violence. We just go against. We don't want their fear. We don't want their division. We don't want their lack of empathy, their cruelty. It's time to be what we were born. It's time to be Australian. Good luck to us all.